Yeah.
People will look at it from different perspective. But if you look at the reality of the statistics, now everyone will have to converge into one fact.
That's right.
Look at the statistics for unemployment. Now, the recent data I looked at was youth unemployment has rose to more than close to 40%. And you know, the indicator of unemployment is only looking at people that are actively looking for jobs, but they couldn't get the job. It didn't count the people that are actually having the jobs, but the job is not sufficient for them. How many people work a job that the job is not sufficient for them to actually feed themselves, but they're not counted? So that's like they're not having any job, because someone that has a small trader, someone that is a shoe shiner, someone that is a car washer, and some little business, even in corporate jobs, there are people whose salary is not that sufficient, and we didn't count them. If you had to count that the people that are doing a job or work a job that is not sufficient for them to cater for their needs, add it to this number, you're going to rise to almost 80%. So only 20% are doing well in their jobs. So if you have small jobs that are not paying well enough, the economy is not doing well. So our policy are just thinking about the people that are outside the
labor
box.
markets.
Well, the people that are looking for the job, they are in the labor market, because the labor force include people that are eligible and willing and seeking for the job. The people that are not even qualified, they're not even counted. And that's to say, you'll be shocked if we have to incorporate those that are not even qualified and are not seeking for the job. There are people who will give up.
Completely.
And they're not in the labor force. And if you are to count these people, then the number is going to be very, very outrageous. So to me, that's on employment side. Then you look at inflation. When President Buhari came in power, the inflation was 9%. And it rose to close to 20%. I believe 19% at a point in time. Then it just started going down, coming down up to, I think the last time it was at lower level was 11%. And now due to coronavirus, it's now rising again, 13-14%, and it will keep rising again. Even yesterday when I went to service my car, they say, oh, because of coronavirus, the price of the oil has increased. Like everywhere I go, everyone is taking advantage of this low supply, scarcity. Now prices keep increasing again, and now government then have money to actually recover. I'm just going to talk about recovery too. And then that's unemployment, inflation. Then you look at GDP. If you look at the trend of the GDP actually could be positive, but we haven't gone back to our previous normal.
That's right.
Normal trend. And then what other indicators will you look at? And then you look at diversification of the economy. This is another indicator that you can actually measure the Nigerian economy at the moment. Even though agriculture is something that has been amplified to be a key project of this administration, but if agriculture cannot contribute even a meager 5% of our export earning, we have not done anything in agriculture. So there is difference between producing for us to consume locally. So
that's the reality on ground.
Yes, and there is scenario of us producing, packaging, processing, and selling to other people, and we get dollar income from agriculture. Are we doing that? So apart from the rhetoric that say agriculture, 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 you have to come up with policy and drastic and major investments to modernize the agricultural sector across the value chain. When people are still using their horse to go to the farm, use their energy, you understand, and using local fertilizer, and we produce the raw materials and we don't know what to do with them, and there is no guarantee of purchase, and even transportation system is bad. We lose the value and the quality of the product on the road. Even some recent assessment from other European countries, they say don't buy agricultural products from Nigeria. And now Nigerians are taking their agricultural product to Ghana so that people from outside are buying. So now how do you increase competitiveness? I had one of your economists is talking about depreciation of Naira. You don't depreciate Naira unless you have something to sell to people. If you depreciate Naira and people are not coming to buy, double loss. You don't do that. That's very risky. So what you need to do is to provide to what people will want to buy from you. You have to create the attraction.
That's right.
And now Naira has no attraction. Even the crude oil we produce is not sold in Naira.
That's right.
So our crude oil production is not creating demand for Naira. It's creating demand for dollar. And that's why oil will have to linger.
So this,
let me link your question to democratic performance and then the economic performance, linking them together.
That's right.
Well, when the Nigerians voted for this current administration, they said they voted for change.
That's right.
And change to me is when you see changes in system and in reality. Now, when I fall sick, critically sick, and I cannot pay for the doctor's bill, I have to go on social media and broadcast, help me. How much? 1 million, 2 million. People seeking, going on public crowdfunding.
Yes, sir.
In order, soliciting for public support to pay for a bill of 1 million, 2 million. Then we have bad healthcare system. When our leaders, when they are sick, they have to go abroad, or their children, they have to go abroad to seek medical attention. Then medically wise, we have not grown. And then we have to bring a system that will protect the healthcare of someone that does not have 1 million. Then I can afford to fall sick. That will cost me 1 million, 2 million. I don't have to worry about it.
That's
because
right.
there is a system that will take care of me. That could be contribution. And then the government will take care. The program will take care of paying for your bill in hospital. And we don't have to take you abroad. We should have the facilities. I even proposed this in one of my tweets. I said, let's convert the National Assembly into a big national hospital. The whole National Assembly complex, right? Let them swap with the National Hospital. Would that going to be possible? Because we have only 109 senators and 365 rep members, and occupying this big complex that is 3 times bigger than the National Hospital. And which one serves as more? Is it the hospital or the National Assembly? National Assembly, they can hire this hall, they can sit. It's just a way of talking. Look at the House of Commons in UK. Look at the small room they meet. So we don't have this. We don't need this big, luxurious, complex building actually to have a legislature. And if they're serious, let's convert that. Let this coronavirus be that a moment, turning point, where we show that we are serious. It's not about your luxury. It's about the comfort of the people that you lead. And that when you look at education, that's healthcare. When you look at education, how much quality of education I get or my children get is dependent on my own income. Then if I don't have the income, then I'm deprived of my basic right to quality education. That shouldn't be the case. When you look at energy, when I have to have a standby generator and fuel it and create emissions and noise, disturb my neighbor, we have not grown. When you look at security, people are afraid to travel because they're afraid they will be kidnapped or armed bandits. In my state where I come from, Katsina, you see how people are being displaced.
That's right.
A lot of them, people are being killed, and people are not even reporting it. It's not the focus of the media.
That's right.
And people are being killed every single day. So will you look at that indicator and say you have growth? Do you have population management policy? Well, and I'm sure when you talk about population control could be very big debate there. But you have to have population management policy. Then how many people do you have? You have to have the correct census. And who? And what is your history? What do you do? What is your skills? Most people, when we talk about these big issues, big ideas, people think, no, this is not going to work in Nigeria. But the same thinking that created the problem will not solve the problem.
Right.
When you don't change your belief, you think this thing has not been tried and it's not going to work. Any policy, any big idea you propose and you say it's not going to work, then nothing is going to work for you. We have to take a big ship. We need transformation. Change, it could be change in a leader, the face of the leader, the party.
That's right.
But transformation is when I can afford to fall sick, I don't have to broadcast myself. Transformation is when my child can go to the best school and get the best education, even if I don't have the income. Transformation is when I can travel the road without any concern. And then energy. Now, even the Siemens that they're talking about, the contract to add 7,000 megawatts to our national grid.
That's right.
Now, if you look at if you add to the generation segment, but you are not expanding the transmission segment, you are doing nothing. We already have the potential capacity to produce over 11,000 megawatts. But our transmission lines can only wheel power that is actually maximum 6,000 megawatts.
That's right.
And that's not even counting the transmission losses. And now you look at the other segment, distribution segment, people are not paying for the electricity. And then these costs are not actually paying to the embed how much electricity they receive. And now they're asking embed, give me less energy because people are not paying. Because the consumers are not paying for it. So, but energy is power. And that's why it's called power. There is no way economy will grow when my business is profitable when I don't put generator fueling. But the moment I put cost of generating electricity is no longer profitable, will I invest? No. Most businesses were profitable. But the moment you add energy costs, they become less viable. Well, we cannot say we are in recession, going by the book definition, because we have to actually record the negative growth for 3 consecutive quarters. And that's when we said we are officially in recession. But even when you have these figures going positive,
that's right,
there are some indicators that you look at and say, this economy is not doing well. Now, but technically you are not in recession, but in reality you are in recession. Well, when you check in your pocket and you don't see money, you cannot have enough money to buy the things you want. You cannot afford to pay for your children's education. You cannot afford to pay for your health care. In your own economy, you are in recession. So the whole economy may not have to actually be officially in recession before individuals be said to be in recession. But we have very few individuals.
That's right.
And largely government controlling the whole economy. They are well-to-do. The government, the only people that are doing well are largely people in government, in power, or in politics, so to say. And then people that are not in the politics, that are in business, they struggle. You know, there are more attractions to politics than to business. And when you have economy like this, then you're always going to be in that kind of latent recession. You're already in recession, but it's not been announced, because it's more rewarding for me to participate in politics than to invest in business. I gave this analogy in last election. People spend millions, billions campaigning for elections that they didn't win.
That's right.
And if they have put that money into factories, businesses, industries, they will have employed more labor. You understand? And the GDP will have grown. So we invest so much in things that are not adding value to the economy. So we waste resources. And as long as we are depending so much more on importation, our naira will not have value. Will continue to get depreciate. And naira depreciation is what actually cost us a lot, because we don't have sufficient goods and services we need within our economy. So we have to import from other people. And if the cost of importation is high, then we're going to have inflation. We're going to import other people's inflation. And on top of that, our currency depreciation, inflation. Because if naira is depreciated, then that's an inflation when you're importing commodity. So that's what actually reduced the value of our income.
That's right.
You may have huge salary, but actually its purchasing power is small. And that's what translates into our individual recessions.
Interesting. 21.
And that's why.
Okay. Let's start driving home as we wrap up this session of the interview. How soon do you think we can get out of these complex situation going forward after COVID-19?
Yeah.
What should we begin to do?
Our actions tell us when. If you don't do nothing, you don't do anything, then there is no time. It depends on the decision you make and how good is that decision. You know, government, you know, during this lockdown, they started spending a lot of billions of naira paying for people to stay at home. That money, if you look at it, if you had invested that money into a big venture or infrastructure or industry to support people, will have changed the situation. But why didn't we do that before the pandemic? So it's about prioritization. Even though keeping people at home in the beginning of the pandemic is okay, the first 1 month you can keep people at home, and you can pay for that. But you cannot afford to keep people at home longer, because they become hungry and angry, and they become desperate and do desperate things, and you have to pay for them, and you have to lose a lot of income and productivity.
That's right. And
keeping the lockdown more than 1 month it would be more dangerous than the pandemic, than the COVID-19. So the moment it's 1 month, you really understand the situation, you observe, now you come up with policy, and then you come out with standards, new way of life. COVID-19 is not the end of life, it's a new way of life. It's teaching us, it's leading us to a new way of living. Now, come out with codes of ethics, codes of conducting businesses and transactions. And then instead of you to say, I'm sure now during this lockdown, a lot of businesses have died.
That's right.
Let's look at it from the big businesses, small businesses. Big businesses have lost billions.
Okay, because of our time, I want us to wrap it up with this one. Yes, like you just said, that government should have come out with code of conduct for businesses, and all of that. Yes, a lot of people said this has come to stay, that is going to be here for a long time, that this is the new normal. So what measures do you want to put in place in terms of managing the situation such that we can do business at the same time? We know that it is here to stay.
Well, that's why before that, you know, some people will not have the business to even restart.
All right.
Because they must have consumed their profit and their capital. And some big businesses cannot even reopen because they have lost a substantial amount of money that they cannot even restart. So the government has to actually bail them. But the question is, if government say, okay, we have these bail funds, everyone can kind of come forward and apply. People just come and inflate their figures. I say, I'm supposed to lay off this number of staff, I have lost this. Can you verify that? So we need to have census of all the businesses.
That's
and
right.
now trace how this pandemic has affected them. Even though this is something we should have done long before. So that we can look at the ledgers, we look at the productivity schedule and see how much this pandemic has affected you and how much you deserve. Because if you come forward and say you lost 10 billion and I'm giving you 8 billion, I cannot verify that.
That's right.
So now, because of our failure to have census of all businesses, including the big ones and small ones, the best strategy we can do is to go for a generic recovery or relief program. For example, you can say you are reducing corporate tax, income tax, reducing electricity tariff, trade tariffs. You can say you are reducing the internet data cost because most businesses are going online. You can provide targeted petroleum subsidy for some few selected energy-intensive industries like manufacturers to encourage them. Things that will actually make people benefit generally, irrespective of how much the pandemic hit you, just to make doing business easy. But those companies that we can verify, like airlines, like banks, that we can verify their expenditure and actually put them back to work, we can pay for them. Then because we need to also have strategic recovery plan for small businesses, because the money that you need to revive a big business will be sufficient to revive 100 or 1,000 of small businesses.
What you think, your assessment of the economy, Nigerian economy grew at 1.8% in terms of GDP for first quarter 2020. So what's your view about that number?
Well, it's not unexpected, considering the happenings around the world, and beginning with the COVID-19 pandemic. it has affected the whole economy in Nigeria and the global economies. And so Nigeria is not an exception to the effect of COVID-19.
That's right.
You know, even apart from the COVID-19 leading to the shutdown of companies and factories and shrinking consumption, the pandemic also affected the mainstay of the Nigerian economy, which is the crude oil.
That's right.
And the crude oil price plummeted to Nigeria's oil particularly was sold around, the lowest it was sold was $15 per barrel, the Bonny Light. And that's what the lowest, I believe, in more than a decade it was sold. So that actually affected the government revenue. The fiscal revenue has actually reduced drastically. And if you recall, the Nigerian budget was initial budget was anticipating oil price to actually peg around $57 per barrel.
Right.
And so you can look at the gap, the deficit. The deficit was just growing bigger and bigger. So because of this shock in the revenue, the power of the government to actually do some projects and do spending actually has reduced. And the Nigerian economy is actually largely dependent on government spending. You know, the government has to do budget, they have to start spending, they have to give contracts, and then the contractors will have to employ people, they have to pay wages, and that's how the economy is growing. Because we don't have big manufacturers, we don't have industry. So largely it's the government that is moving the economy. The private sector is not doing very well in Nigeria. So actually the major influencer of the Nigerian economy is the government. And then this coronavirus has affected the government performance. And then you have to see this effect in the economic performance.
That's right.
And that's why you see the what do you call the negative growth in the GDP. And if you sustain that for a continuous period of 3 months, we fall into recession.
That's right.
So we are not new to recession. Recently, we are in the recession during this administration, and that was courtesy of the low oil price at that time. And now we have low oil price again. So we should anticipate that. That's why I say it's not unexpected.
Unexpected, yes.
Yeah, because whenever oil price is low, we fall into recession. Because we are very vulnerable to the oil price fluctuations. Unless we actually uncouple our economy from this marriage with the oil price, we'll not be able to actually run away from these shocks. And it's really, really bad for any economy to tie its own performance to something that is so volatile.
That's right.
You know, in the past, it was safe for you to actually tie your economy to oil price because it was a bit stable in the beginning because there were no competitions and there were a lot of turbulence in terms of political, social issues, and it was a bit resistant to social and economic happenings in the beginning. But suddenly, oil price started becoming so sensitive to every single thing that happens around the world. Even a statement, the oil price will now react to it. And you know, before when OPEC was very, very strong, OPEC was able to protect the oil price. But now, because of so much competition from Russia and USA and new unconventional reserves and alternative energy, the oil price now is becoming very sensitive to economic, social and political situations. So social issue that we are facing right now, the biggest social issue is the coronavirus pandemic.
That's right.
That affect the health, that even forced the oil producers to shut down.
Okay, I want us to leave it there. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed Adamu, who's a senior lecturer at the Department of Economics, Nile University in Abuja here. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're also watching Daybreak Africa. We'll take a moment now. We'll be back with more interesting lineup on the show. Please stay with us.